I had a vision, and it was very reaffirming to hear that I was at a place where a vision just popped, and it was magnificent.
Yes.
And now...
And remember the feeling of it. Remember that powerful feeling of it, that elation of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then?
And then I started on the journey, and then...
I started on the journey. Sometimes you take action too soon. Sometimes once you get a vision, then you set out to make it happen. So what we're talking about here is understanding what's happened. This is why we want you to understand what's happened. We want you to understand that life caused you to create, even when you didn't know you were. And life caused you to launch vibrational rockets, even though you didn't know you were. And those vibrational rockets were assembled and gathered by law of attraction in what we began calling your vortex, even though you didn't know it was happening. And your inner being joined that and held attention to it and caused law of attraction to draw to it more and more as your vision became more and more and more. But it had to move from the thought to the thing before it could become your vision. It had to turn from the vibration before it could become the thought. So let's call the thought and the vision the same thing. So here it is, a vibration, an imperceptible, untranslatable vibration that had to cook a little bit before it became robust enough that it became big enough, that it became perceivable enough that we could even call it a thought. And once it was a thought, a vision, a thought, a vision, a thought, a desire, a thought, a vision, a desire, now it's got so much momentum going, it is going to become a reality for someone, and most likely for you, unless you think in opposition to it.
And I find myself maybe
and
doing
what causes you to think in opposition to it? It's too hard. It's too late. It takes too much work. I don't have enough support. Nobody's ever done that before. It's pie in the sky. What's the matter with me? Or you talk to some realist that just because it doesn't exist now, they won't support your vision. Jerry wrote a paper called Keep Your Ideas to Yourself Until They Are Fully Developed, because he knew you could have a vision, and if you talk to somebody who wasn't up to speed with you in your vision, that they would talk you out of your vision. They'll do it every time. They will make you face reality, and they will make you feel like a fool. When really all that's happening is you just let go of the robustness of your vision. You can get it back, though. You can get it back, because once it's there, it's always there for you. And you know why? Your inner being never stops thinking about it, never stops knowing it, never stops being it, and never stops projecting it to you. But you got to be somewhere in the vicinity of it before the next idea comes, and the next and the next. Have you ever said, ooh, got the best idea. I used to think about that a lot and haven't thought about it in a long time, and now I'm thinking about it again. They don't go away. They're there for you. You just got to get happy to return to your past and current visions so that you can enjoy the deliciousness of your visions. Oh, because you see, we had fun. You don't know it, but we had fun. As you put the pieces in there, we had fun watching them all come together, because we could perceive them vibrationally. You couldn't, but we could. So we were having fun watching it become, watching it become, watching it become. That's why we say to you, you have more in your vortex. It would keep you busy for 20 or 30 lifetimes, just what you've got going on in there now. But then law of attraction makes it more and more and more and more and more. And when it becomes your vision, when the idea occurs to you, when the desire is received by you, now the real fun of watching the continuing progression of it is even more. When the vibration was becoming a thought, not so fun for you, fun for us. Now the thought is becoming a thing. That's what rings your bells. Ours too. But that's what rings your bells. You're getting this, aren't you?
I get the part where thoughts become the thing, and I have the vision, the thought.
Yeah.
And it's moved, and then I lose momentum.
Well, that's just because you're countering it with other thoughts. That's all. There's not another force that's pushing back against your momentum. It's you diverging into another direction. In other words, you're the only one that can add resistance to your stream. You're the only one that can add the resistance. It might be in response to something that you're observing, but you're the only one who is doing it, and you can tell.
So if I have this vision and I keep the momentum going by listening and not encountering resistance.
You don't have to keep the momentum going.
Okay,
it will continue to go unless you do something that slows it down. And when you do that thing you do that slows it down, there's always negative emotion present. So that's why we say it is so simplistic. You all say it too. It's too simplistic, Abraham. Don't say, all I have to do is keep good thoughts and I'm going to feel happily ever after. That's it. All you have to do is find a way to feel good. And you say, but there's stuff in the world that doesn't feel good. And we say, we know. It's because you had these thoughts and you created that stuff. You had these thoughts and you created that stuff. But don't just keep talking about that stuff because you just keep creating more of that stuff. In other words, those thoughts keep turning into more things too. You get to decide how it feels. You get to decide what you want to create. You get to decide. And you can't stop thinking a thought all at once. There is momentum in it. So go general. Be nice to yourself about it. Well, this thought doesn't feel very good. Let's say that something is turning out not the way you want it to, and you are now acknowledging that it's turning out not the way you want it to because of thoughts that you've been thinking.
Or just slow.
So that's sort of like a not very good feeling that you're pronouncing on yourself. Oh, I did this to me. I did this to me, and I got what's coming to me, and I deserve this, and that law of attraction thing, it gave me something that I didn't want. So there you are. Let's say that's how you're feeling. So then you can go general. And you can say, yes, however, in the process of that, I've launched more rockets and I've put more into my vortex and I got a lot clearer and I'm more sure about what I want now and I'm making better decisions now than I've ever made before. And things are getting better and better for me and I'm doing really good at this. And I'm not meant to be the one exception to the law of attraction where I've got momentum going on something and all of a sudden I can just stop it. I can gradually allow myself to think more in the direction of what I'm wanting. I'm just going to gently lean in the direction of feeling better about more things. And for now, I'm going to stay off this subject altogether because there's too much momentum that I've got going. So I'll just do my best not to think about that. And what you begin to notice each morning when you wake up, when your momentum is slower about everything, that in those early moments, that when a thought comes to you that you can tell right from the beginning is not a thought that you really want to spend time on, you can turn the other cheek. You can. You can turn in the direction of something that feels better to you. You can. But you got to catch it early. And if you don't beat up on yourself. Just watch it play out and once again pronounce to yourself, well, I saw that coming. I felt this way and it turned to that thought and it turned to that thought and it turned to that thought and it turned to that thing. That's the most logical thing in the world. I sure like how this goes. Not one of you expects to jump off your roof and fall up. Nobody says, oh, there's a kite in the tree, I'll go get it. And you don't go get it, you go down. Because law of gravity is a very consistent law in your universe, and so is law of attraction. It always plays out exactly as it feels. So what we are really asking of you is to first care about how you feel. Next, recognize that you are a vibrational being and that your vibrations matter, and that the reason that you feel anything ever, good feeling or not good feeling, the reason that you ever feel anything is because your inner being has this opinion and you have a varying opinion. And if your opinion is in sync with the source within you, you feel wonderful. And if it's in contradiction to it, you feel terrible. So doesn't it follow then that if you are having some unpleasant feeling thoughts about something, that you might just stop and say, oh, my inner being doesn't feel this way about it, and I think for now I'm just going to give this subject a break. Because if you give any subject a break long enough, it won't be active in your vibration. So you want to keep the things that you want to come active in your vibration, and you want to let the things that you don't want to come be deactivated.
Can I ask you a question? If indeed I let the thoughts that aren't working for me go, and I want to know what steps I need to take or people that I need to bring into my life to assist me in this vision.
So listen to this. So are we accepting that the desire is there, that your inner being knows about the desire and knows all the wonderful experiences to get you from the desire that is a thought to the desire that is a thing? Are we in agreement that your inner being does know what the path of least resistance is? And can you accept that if there is any resistance on this path of least resistance, that you have and are putting it there? So your inner being is guiding you around your resistance, not judging the resistance, not condemning it, not mad that the resistance is there, simply acknowledging that the resistance is there and guiding you to where you want to be, in and under and around and through and over and under the resistance that you've put there. So are you still with us that inner being is guiding you toward everything that you want.
Mm-hmm.
So, since that is always true, that your inner being knows always where you are in relationship to everything that you want, doesn't it seem prudent that your singular intention would be in connection with your inner being so that you can receive the impulses about that? You see what we're getting at? When you know, and this is the part that you don't know the way we know, and so things that seem really obvious to us don't seem quite so obvious to you. You see, we know that your vortex did its job and that your desire, that your vision has now been accomplished. And we know that what comes next is the full satisfying fruition of it. We know all of that. And so it's so logical to us that you would think the thoughts that allow that unfolding to happen. Esther remembers she and Jerry had little chickens. They got them from the feed store. And they got them from an incubator. And none of them had ever known their mother or their father. They just were little hatched, furry things. And they took them home. They didn't have feathers yet. They were just fur. And when a butterfly flew over, the little rooster went, "Rrrr." Well, later, when that little rooster became a big rooster, he made a similar sound when the hawk flew over. He was just born knowing, it seemed. He was just born knowing. Well, he was born knowing because he wasn't doing anything in his little beingness that caused him to not know. So one day, Big Bird, a big black astrolorp rooster, herded Henny Penny, one of the little black hens, over behind the air conditioner and stood there and would not let her go to the hen house to lay her egg. And Jerry and Esther were watching. They thought that was very interesting that this big bird was being so obnoxious with this hen. So she laid her egg, and then he let her go. So then the next day, he's herding her over there again. She lays her egg again over there. And Jerry's thinking, this bird has lost its mind. But they decided to just observe and not interfere. And so several days, Henny Penny laid her egg, and then when she tried to leave, Big Bird blocked her way. He would not let her leave. He stood there, would not allow her to leave until she finally just sat down. When she tried to get up, he went over. She sat back down. When she tried to get up, he went over. And then he brought her things to eat for 21 days. He brought her things to eat for 21 days. And on the 22nd day, the eggs began hatching. And all these little chickens came running out from under Henny Penny. And Jerry and Esther thought, that rooster didn't know his parents. He didn't learn anything from his parents. He just knew chicken stuff. Probably because he is a chicken. What humans call instinct is just natural knowing, you see. You're born with this natural knowing. We want you to just for a little bit feel the natural laws of the universe and feel the naturalness of who you are and the naturalness of what life causes you to do and the naturalness of your launching of desires and the naturalness of this incubation period while your vortex is cooking your stuff into something that's going to hatch. And then your realization that once it hatches, then off you go for the further enjoyment of it. You see, we want you to feel the naturalness of it. We want you to take your effort factor out of it. We want you to take your proving yourself worthy factor out of it. We want you to feel your worthiness as a natural thing. We want you to understand that you don't have to prove anything to anybody. You cannot prove anything to anybody. And that when you try, you block your receptive mode so that your intuition and your impulses, your understanding of who you are in the universe is then blocked by this vibration that you are sort of in a flawed premise way projecting. So that's why we want you to feel enthusiasm for your life. But we want the natural enthusiasm that will come. In other words, don't try so hard to make it happen. Let it happen. And when an idea occurs to you, allow yourself to run with that. And don't second guess yourself. Don't think, I don't know why I thought that, or I don't know why I was so excited about that. Say, the fact that I was so excited about that must mean that there's something really good with it. And it is prudent for me, wise for me to flow with that.